Hi, hello. My name is Allie, and this is my channel where I talk about what I'm knitting, how it's going, and what it's costing me. And today, instead of the standard knitting podcast format, I actually want to get into other knitting podcasts. I want to talk about some of my favorites because I only started one of these because I watched other people's. In the same way that I think it's kind of cool to think about the fact that we who are currently knitting are knitting in the tradition of the ancestors who came before us, I'm also sitting here recording this podcast in the tradition of all the knitting podcasters who sat down and recorded before me. And I feel like it's only fair to, in part, return that favor by talking about some of those podcasts here and a little bit paying it forward by talking about some of the ones that have popped up since. So if you're looking for some new knitting podcasts to round out your YouTube experience, then stay tuned.
Welcome to the deep dive. In a world just buzzing with content, how does some creators manage to cut through all that noise?
Right, and build that genuine connection almost instantly.
Exactly. Today we're doing a deep dive into Ollie's knitting podcast, using some fascinating source material you shared. Our mission really is to unpack her communication strategies, see what makes her unique, and explore those deeper themes: community, inspiration, stuff like that.
And what's really striking is how the sources point out her speed. She's quick, and her creative way of bringing in other YouTubers.
Yeah, it's very strategic almost.
It is. It's like a masterclass in using really precise language to say a lot fast.
She absolutely hits the ground running, that intro. Hi, hello, my name's Allie, and this is my channel where I talk about what I'm knitting.
How it's going.
And what it's costing me.
So concise. How do those specific phrases right at the start work to build her brand, you think?
Well, it's brilliant, really. When I'm knitting, okay, that's the topic. Simple enough.
Yeah. But how it's going, that immediately adds, relatability. She's going to share the journey, the ups and the downs.
Not just the perfect finished object.
Exactly. And then what it's costing me. That's the clever bit. It's not just dollars and cents.
Right.
It hints at the time, the effort, maybe even the frustrations. It creates this authenticity.
Like a shared experience.
Precisely. Which is gold for building trust, especially now.
Okay, so that framing sets her value right up front, hooks you with transparency.
Right.
But then she pivots. She says, and today, instead of a standard knitting podcast format, I actually want to get into other knitting podcasts. What's that signal? Stepping outside the standard format.
Yeah, that's her community focus showing. Her standard format is just, her usual routine, her typical show structure.
Okay.
But to get into something else, especially other creators, that means she's deliberately shifting gears.
Making space for others.
Right. It tells her audience, hey, pay attention. This is different. This is generous.
And that leads right into why she even started her podcast, doesn't it? Because she watched others first.
Yes. And she connects it to something bigger, something quite profound.
The knitting in the tradition of the ancestors line?
Yeah.
That really jumped out.
It's such a powerful parallel. She sees herself recording her podcast in the tradition of all the knitting podcasters who sat down and recorded before me.
Wow.
It completely reframes it, doesn't it? It's not just hitting record on a camera.
No, it's becoming part of a lineage, like a creative legacy.
Exactly. Participating in this ongoing shared practice, it really elevates the whole thing.
So she's honoring that history.
Yeah.
And then she says she feels it's only fair to return the favor, and she's paying it forward.
What does that tell us about her approach?
Well, only fair speaks to reciprocity, doesn't it? Giving back to the community that inspired her in the first place.
Definitely a sense of obligation, but in a positive way.
Yeah, and paying it forward. That's just that lovely idea of passing on the kindness, the support, because someone did it for you.
It really shows her commitment isn't just to her own channel, but to the whole ecosystem, the whole community, making it stronger.
So fostering this cycle of inspiration.
Yeah, exactly.
Then she wraps up that section with a call to action. But again, it reinforces that community angle. So if you're looking for some new knitting podcasts to round out your YouTube experience, then stay tuned.
And that phrase, to round out, it's key. It's an invitation to the viewer, to you listening.
To diversify.
Yeah, to add variety, make your viewing experience more complete. She's not trying to hoard attention.
No, she's actively pushing people towards other creators.
Which ultimately strengthens the whole niche, the whole community fabric. It's smart and it's generous.
It really is. So this deep dive into, what seems like a pretty specific topic, Ollie's Knitting Podcast, it actually surfaces these universal ideas.
Absolutely. Effective communication, building real community.
And that whole chain of inspiration, tradition, passing things down in creative fields, it shows how niche content can shed light on really big principles.
Which brings us to a final thought. Thinking about this idea of tradition and paying it forward in content, or maybe any field, How do you, in your own interest or your work, participate in that? Are you consciously or maybe unconsciously building on traditions of sharing knowledge or creativity? What sorts of insights or inspirations do you find yourself paying forward? Maybe just in everyday ways, even without a formal podcast.